And welcome back to the Think Tank podcast. I am your host, Randy Hayes. So glad that you were able to join us for another episode. I am so excited about the guest that we have on tonight. This young lady is another fellow hog. So I think that's either our fifth or sixth hog to be on the podcast. And she is doing some pretty cool things with her own travel group on Facebook. And if you just follow her online, she's got a lot of great information and insight on the entire industry. I would consider her a professional, as much insight that she's given out and whatnot. And she's also got, the great fashion sense. And whether she calls herself that or not, I'll find out a little bit in the episode. But I think she might be a foodie as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you all Miss Almetia Whitaker. How are you doing today?
How you doing? I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join you and talk about some cool things today.
That's what's up, man. I'm so glad that you were able to just take a moment of time out. It was something that was very compelling that, I said, man, I had some other guests in mind, but the timing as we are just now, kicking off the beginning of summer and whatnot, it's a great time for us to really tap into a resource like you and what you got going on. But before we dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you live now, what I'm saying? And if you can even tell us, what time you were at UMES so we can get a timeline. I've been trying to figure this out for a minute.
For sure. So I was born in North Carolina. I pretty much grew up in the DC area though, my entire life. I went to DC schools all my life up until 10th grade, and then I had moved to the PG side. I went to UMES from 2006 to 2010. Go Hawks, Hawk Pride, catch it, all of that.
Yes.
Yes, and my mother's side of my family is actually from Botswana, which is in Southern Africa. So okay. I consider myself a true, real African American, if for a
no
better
doubt.
words. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so when you said you went to UMES, so during what time?
2006 to 2010.
Okay, yeah. And I graduated in 07, so yeah, you were just getting started. So I actually, I think I stumbled upon Almetia. I was on LinkedIn one day, and it was a suggestion, and that's all it takes for someone like me. You know what I'm saying? I get that, and the rest is history. I'm not shy, and that's what networking's about. I mean, that's part of, the whole concept of Think Tank. To help individuals network that knowledge, the in and think for networking. So, that's what we're doing here. And I hope that, throughout the course of this episode, you'll be blessed by some of the topics that we are talking about. So I really want to chop it up with you and find out a little bit more about why travel is so important to you.
Yeah, so travel is important to me. First of all, because it's something that I've done for so long. Since I was a young child, I've been blessed to kind of travel domestically, internationally. As I said, my mother is African, so I had to go home with her for the summers every now and then. So being on a plane was always something that I was doing. And then travel really got important to me too, actually during my UMES years. When I was a part of our concert choir at UMES, we were really kind of like a traveling choir. So I could always look forward to traveling annually. Every year, our choir director had us going on what we called a tour. We would go to different countries and we would sing for a week, every day for a week, at different establishments in the company. And we kind of, in the country. And we kind of were like, we were popping. We went to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, Guadalupe. Guadalupe was one of my favorites. But it was really at that time when I noticed that traveling was really something that I was passionate about and that interested me, because it was just so cool to just see life outside of the States. a lot of the times we have no idea what's going on in these other countries, obviously, other than what we're given and seeing on TV. And it's totally different being able to immerse yourself in those areas, in those countries, and just kind of see, for one, seeing how privileged we kind of are living in the States. We don't realize some other we have it real good in comparison to some other people. But then there's other places where, we look at what's going on in our country right now, and a lot of these other countries are not experiencing what we're seeing. So it's kind of really neat to just see how we're literally all living in this same world, but we're not living the same life. So just being able to experience that, and all the people that I've met, all of those things together are what makes traveling really important to me. And it's really important for your mental health, I will say. And I know everybody
Right.
does not have the opportunity to just take off or to afford to just miss work and travel around the world. But sometimes just getting outside of your own little area, your own little neighborhood. I'm a big fan of like staycations. If you can go an hour out of your way and just kind of decompress and just kind of get your mind right. It's really important for us to do that, especially with things that are going on right now, as we see the kids growing up under us with social media. There's so much craziness going on and that they're exposed to. And sometimes we just need an outlet out of all the craziness that's going on. So traveling is definitely my kind of go-to for that.
No doubt, no doubt. And we had a conversation offline, and that was one of the things that I considered you like a crusader because I think that it's something that we all need to take a little bit of time to do. This life that we live is short. We can get bogged down in the rat race and the hustle and bustle, you know what I'm saying, trying to climb the corporate ladder or whatever the case may be, and never take the time to smell the roses, never take the time to get that self-care. And I also said that I consider myself more of like a old school millennial. Like you just put your hand to the plow, you just keep on going, you just keep on going. But you and I, we have the benefit, and when I speak on that, I mean like our generation. This is like really one of the first generations that has the benefit to look back on the fruit of what their parents did and say, that was cool, I could do without that, and make some decisions and kind of correct course. So I don't think that's a matter of us being a lazy or not having like the work ethic, but just understanding that our time, our health, whether it be our physical health or our mental health, because we need that break for all of it, right? Is super important. And obviously, we also think of the summer as vacation season. But because I'm a practical dude, I also had to kind of find out from you, like, okay, in my situation, I'm married, I got a mortgage, I got utilities, got the cell phone bill, got the groceries, got all that, and the question comes up with, so what do you like, put like a separate account aside for budgeting for vacations? How do you really go about tackling the payment and the planning of vacations?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually not one of those people that have like that special stash, or you put your leftover grocery change in a pocket over here and let it add up until you get a good amount where you feel comfortable booking a trip. I actually, well, a few things. One, I give myself kind of like a budget as far as how much I'm willing to spend on a trip, right? Because I know,
Right.
because I travel so often, I'm not willing to spend so much money every single time. I know some people who only get that once, twice a year opportunity. They're kind of willing to splurge a little bit more. But for myself, that's not my case. So really what I do is either one, I'll put it on my credit card. I'm a big advocate for getting travel credit cards or cards that, every time you use them, you're building points and getting things that kind of
Hmm.
help you that you can use to apply towards your
Talk
future
about it.
travel. I also,
Okay, talk
yeah,
about it.
I do travel quite a bit for work. Um, and so with that, I try to gain points in all the places that I'm traveling with for work. So I will say something that's important is to find an airline or find a hotel chain that you like and that you find available in places that you want to go to, so that you can keep building points with that particular airline or hotel. Because the problem is when you just kind of pick and choose, you're not really building any points anywhere, and those points really come in handy later on, because you can find some, especially when they have deals. Southwest, has a lot of deals. Spirit, everybody's favorite carrier, they do a lot of deals.
Right,
And
right.
I'll say I'm not travel bougie really. So
Okay.
I think that that's also important for people who are looking to possibly like save money,
Hmm.
is looking at the budget airlines and figuring out how to finesse with them, because a lot of people hate Spirit Airlines. It could be for customer service reasons, but hey, all the airlines have their own kind of shenanigans going on. But a lot of the times people have issues with Spirit because they don't really understand Spirit's rules and what they have in place with their regulations. And so they end up getting charged more than what they need to, because they either didn't book well, they didn't pack well, they didn't do something, they didn't read some type of fine print overall, that is now ending up giving them frustration and headache on the back end. And they now think that, oh, Spirit is a horrible airline, they're overcharging me for baggage, doing all this. And it's like, you kind of would have just read the rules right and prepared
Mm.
well or asked questions, you could have saved yourself a whole bunch of money. I a lot of my Spirit flights, I mean, 200 something dollars, like I went to Colombia last year. I think I spent maybe 180 on my trip, round trip,
Mm.
whereas on like a regular airline like an American or a Delta, you probably be paying double that to go to the same place. And for a 2 hour, well, maybe 3 hour flight coming from the DC area, is it worth it? Like, I can spend that extra $150,
Hmm.
$200 on stuff when I get to my
Yeah.
destination, you right? So I
I,
just
I,
sleep on the
I,
plane.
I, you know what, man? Listeners, I hope y'all got that because she actually dropped like a major key right there when she's talking about, some of y'all get so caught up in being travel bougie that you're missing out. And because when I look at, when I scroll through, Almetia's timeline, and it's like, man, it seemed like she taking a new vacation like every week. It's just about like that's what it seems like. But I know she's doing a lot of vacations, and one thing that I appreciate about what she's doing, and I hope we can take away from it is, she gets the most out of her trips. She gets the most out of those trips that she takes. So her and I could actually have like the same budget if we were both traveling solo or traveling on a vacation or whatever the case may be. And you know, because of some of these, I don't want to say loopholes or shortcuts, but some of these nuggets that she has, and then she's learned, through her travels, she might be able to squeeze out a whole extra trip. You know what I'm saying? With that same budget. Yeah. So that's dope, man. Um, One of the things that I also want to talk about, would you consider yourself a foodie?
I mean, I would think so. I enjoy eating. I like to eat. I like to cook, and I actually do base quite a few of my trips around food. And after researching and hearing about different foods and dishes in different countries and different cities, a lot of the times that does kind of play a big role in where I go, why I go, what I eat. So I would consider myself a
Mm-hmm.
foodie.
And Didn't plan on asking this, but since we mentioned Ero,
You know.
since we mentioned that, I gotta ask, man. When you were on the kitchen side of it, well, were you in the kitchen or were you in front of the house when you were with HRM? Where did they have you?
So, I mean, obviously, we had to kind of jump around sometimes,
Right,
right?
right.
But once we get to
But when it was
junior
gala
year,
time, when it was
when
gala time, when it
oh,
was gay,
when it
gay,
was
yeah.
gala, I was general manager, baby, GM.
Ooh,
Ooh, they call me Madam
okay.
GM.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So you can get your way around all over, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's what's up, man.
And you know
You
what? I'm
you
glad
making
that
me feel bad.
No, don't
Look. I was proud that what I'm saying. Chef would come to me to get my opinion on what needed to be added to dishes, and you over here running the whole show.
Man, and let me tell you, I wasn't even expecting that or wanting that really, but it was laid on me, and then I had to do it again for dinner theater. So I was like, man,
Yep.
this is something. But here we are. But I'm glad you brought up HRM actually because kind of piggybacking off of your last question about how do you save money for these trips and things like that.
Mhm.
I also will, pick up some side gigs and jobs since I do come from a hospitality background.
Mhm.
There's so many things that you can do to just earn some extra money on your own time. And it could be things that you
No doubt.
enjoy. Like I enjoy being with people, working in front of people, running the front of the house. To answer your question, I'm more of a front of the house
Okay.
girl than the back of the house. So I've picked
Okay.
up there's an app that I use actually. It's called Quick for anybody who is in hospitality and might be interested in something that they can pick up some shifts. But it pays pretty well, and you can pick and choose which events you want to do. And I'll just do like a catering gig for 4 or 5 hours and make an extra 150 for the day. And the way I shop, that's a flight,
That's real.
or that's a night at a hotel. So you do a few of those, and my trip is paid for. So there's always ways around, making this work if you really want to do it.
No doubt. Well, we got a lot of other things that we want to talk about, man. But before we do that, do you mind if we take a quick break?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So after this break, we're gonna have a little bit more from Miss Whitaker. Hope that y'all will join us. We're gonna learn a little bit more about this amazing group that she started from scratch and what she's got going on with that. And I'm gonna hit her with a quick fire on a few different topics to see which way she's leaning. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't wake up when it's too late. They might think that you hate me. I'ma get it in while you wait.
And welcome back to Think Tank Podcast. I have been joined by the lovely Almetia Whitaker, and we've been talking a little bit over travel. And man, I got this invite a couple of months ago, man. It was for this group, man, and I think that Almetia sent the invite to me. I checked it, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a group on travel. But that thing has blown up, man. You got almost 2,000 members in your group, man. What you doing over there? How did the group, which is called, I want to make sure I got this right, for the Budget Traveler, how did that group come together, and what inspired you for it?
So actually, I have a real straight up answer for how it really started. For years, people have watched me travel, right? Watching my Facebook, watching my Instagram, and they're like, dang, how do you do this? Or like you said earlier, I feel like every time I log in, you're somewhere else, always traveling, whatever.
Right.
So last year when I went to Colombia, I want to say I spent maybe $450 total on everything. That was my flight, that was my hotel.
Stop playing. Hold on. You did what?
$450. I might be a little wrong with my numbers there, but it was definitely under 500. That included everything, all my excursions, flight, hotel, everything. Because a lot of my excursions included meals and stuff too. So so it was after that trip with
Look,
everything.
I'm not gonna call out. I'm not gonna call out any specific names, but y'all know who you are. I got some boys who will spend that much on a bottle of bourbon, and you could take a whole trip to another continent, the whole nine. No, what do you mean the whole trip?
Right. So
Do you break it down? I'm sorry, I'm not gonna cut you off anymore. Go
all
ahead.
right. So my flight, I want to say I either used points for my flight and Spirit points because like I said, I live in Fort Lauderdale, so this is the Spirit hub. So that's also how I end up riding Spirit a lot because that's the main
Mhm.
airline down here. So a lot of these places don't cost a lot of points. I think I got a flight for like 7,000 points each way. So let's say it was a
Mhm.
14,000 points ride, or in money, 200 and something dollars. My hotel was maybe like $60 a night, $80 a night. And then my excursions, which I really enjoyed. If anybody was to ever go to Colombia, Cartagena specifically, I'm a real advocate
Mhm.
of when traveling, going to um, experience the Black community in those countries. So there's a huge Black
Mm.
population
Blessings.
in
Blessings.
Cartagena, and so all of the excursions that I did were through a company. I want to say it's called the Experience the Real Cartagena or something like that. But I did all my excursions with
Okay.
them, and they come pick you up, they feed you, and you get to experience the Afrocentric culture in the city. So all of that included, and where I stayed was pretty walkable in the city, so I kind of was able to walk places. So I didn't really spend much on any
Mhm.
additional transportation except to and from the airport. So 450 covered all of that. So people heard that and they were like, just your same reaction, like, hold up,
Mhm.
450, like I spent that just on the flight, right? So everybody kind of right,
Right.
everybody kind of wanted to know, like, well, how? Teach us your ways. So they've been asking me this for years, and finally after that trip, I was like, you know what? That was a damn good deal. Let me share this and show people that you don't have to spend a lot of money to travel. And that's my biggest lesson to everyone, is that traveling does not have to be expensive. People sometimes make it that way, but if you really are just about experiencing new things and just getting out there, you definitely can get out there without hurting your pockets if you don't have to. So that's kind of where the group started from.
You mentioned something, and I was going to ask you about this. You said if you're not afraid to get out there, would you call yourself maybe a little adventurous?
Mm, it's hard to say because it depends on what you mean. But I guess in comparison to other people, because a lot of people are afraid of what's on the outside of this country, and just even the process of getting to these countries. So I guess I would say I'm adventurous in that aspect. Like, I'll go anywhere as
Mhm.
long as it's safe. Obviously I'll go anywhere. Um, and I'll try anything. Now, I can't swim, so I was a little too adventurous in
Yeah.
my last trip in Costa Rica. Like, I almost died. So so I have to kind of cut back on the levels of adventurous. That's why I kind of was like, it depends on what you mean by that, because um, worst thing you want to do is kind of get too close to seeing the Holy Spirit in another country, right? So
Yeah. Right.
but other than
Right.
that, yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, we've mentioned a few things, and I think that something that anyone, who plans or is thinking about taking a trip, if I'm just going to go based off this conversation I've had with her tonight, I would say you need to kind of take a look at, examine yourself. Like, how do you really want to, experience this new place? Um, she mentioned, are you going to be a bougie traveler? So obviously, some of the logistics, you know what I'm saying? Where are you willing to give and take if, I'm saying, you are trying to be budget friendly? And then also, when you get there, she is talking about, yeah, what I'm saying, where I was, it was like, the village was walking distance. So, what I'm saying, I could just, go ahead and grab a bite here and there. And, it was cool. But some of us are so touristy. We're like, when's the next shuttle coming through? You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. So, I think that one of the things that has benefited you on some of these trips, and, correct me if I'm wrong, just being able to really, and this is what I mean when I say adventurous, being able to immerse yourself in a trip. And I'll give you an idea. So I remember, Toya and I, we went to Jamaica, and we were staying at this like all-inclusive resort, and we were there for like maybe like 4 or 5 days, and we ventured off of the resort one time. One time. Now don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? We experienced Montego Bay. But like, we missed out on so many, opportunities, but what are you trying to get out of it? We needed to be recharged anyway, you know what I'm saying? It was chill. So, obviously you have to like, what are your intentions when you go on this trip? Is this trip meant to be a revival, a refreshing, or we turning up? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing when we're doing the trip? That has to be kept in mind. But you mentioned that Colombia trip, and you said you were in walking distance to all these different locations. One thing I haven't asked you about, like, what do you do as far as like the language barriers? You know what I'm saying? Since you out here, immersed in everything,
Yeah, for sure. So actually, language is actually another reason that, or another thing that really intrigues me about traveling. Specifically,
Okay,
like French. I love the French language.
okay.
I studied that in middle school, high school, college. So my French is pretty good. My Spanish, you would think now living in the Miami area that I would be like a
Mm-hmm.
pro Spanish speaker. I'm not, but I know enough. And you'd be surprised, like, I hear it so often, even though I'm not speaking it down here, I hear it. But when I'm forced to be in a location where that's the only way that I can get around is by speaking that language, you'd be surprised kind of how much that you've retained and learned over the years. And then also there's so many apps and things that you can download
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are like
Yeah, keep it
that
real.
are
Keep it real.
yeah.
Keep it real.
So hey, no, I mean I'm good. But sometimes when you get into deep conversations, I'm like, okay, hold on, senor. So you,
where can I get a good salad around here?
yeah. So the translator apps, they are amazing. If you can't access that, Google still always has Google Translate too. So you can get around if you want. Obviously, there's a lot of places where English, a lot of people speak English, but I think as Americans, we also get to, we don't understand, like, people come over here and then we expect them to speak English. And when they don't speak,
Mm-hmm.
when like a Latino comes here and their English is not good, some of us are like, well, you need to learn English, you over here in America,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Right.
So, okay, you got to use that same thought process when you're going to
Right.
their
Yeah,
country.
keep that same
Yeah,
energy.
keep
Keep
that
that
same
same
energy.
energy.
Okay, learn how to say, gracias, you know, you don't have to say thank yous, hola, whatever. Figure out how you can relate to them, and they appreciate that. So a lot of them will do whatever they can to help you get whatever you need if they see that you're even making the effort to kind of try to relate
Mm-hmm.
to them and speak their language. They appreciate it. So I love the challenge. I think a lot of my friends are impressed with me too. When we travel, they don't know that I got it in me, and you know, I be getting us through some things. So I think I'm doing pretty good. So I like it.
That's what's up. You sold me, man. I trust you to lead me on a trip, man. You sold me. So what are some of those things that you talk about in the group?
So yeah, so originally the group, of course, was created as it is called for the budget traveler. So originally it started off as I wanted to kind of drop tips, gems, just different things that were kind of things that people were not familiar with, or they didn't know. Just I just wanted to be able to help people do what I do that they didn't know that they could do. But now it has also kind of transitioned into, even though I do continue to post different tips and things, we talk about different credit cards that you should possibly look into depending on what you're looking for to get out of it. There's so many people, and I've been blessed with people in my group that are so knowledgeable on so many things and who are willing to answer questions, ask questions, start conversations. But I also do drop deals. So I am a member of a lot of different like deal websites and companies. So when I do get notifications or alerts about like cheap flights or cheap deals, I'll post those as well, because those are really good for people who have no idea what to do when it comes to planning a trip. They know they want to go somewhere, they just don't know how to go about it. The deals are real easy because they usually have flight, hotel, everything included. You just got to click on it and everything is kind of lined up for you there. So I'll post a lot of deals. And then we also will post like recommendations. So when people travel, just like I'm sure a lot of people have been in some type of travel group at some point, and you know, you'll see people travel and they'll share their experiences, they'll share some pictures, they'll make recommendations, and that is how a lot of us also travel too, because somebody that we know went to a place, we saw their pictures, we saw their experience, and now it's lingering in the
Mm-hmm.
back of your head, and you're like, dang, now I gotta get to XYZ place because so and so's pictures looked so amazing and they sounded like they had such a great time. Now I want to do that. So we do a lot of sharing of experiences. People talk about, you know, I bring up conversations about, you know, the best way to travel with children or to save money with traveling as a family. So things like that, even though they don't directly relate
Mm-hmm.
to me, since I don't have kids yet, but I do know that a lot of the people in the group do. And some people just don't know what to do, where to go, where can I go with my 3-month-old or my 3-year-old, or, you know. So everybody kind of adds in their own input and recommendations, and we kind of just flow off of there. And the group has
Mm-hmm.
grown to, as you said, we're actually just a little shy of 1,700 people right now. The group started in May last year, so we're a little bit over a year old now, and we continue to grow. I love seeing people continuing to invite their friends and family, and we're doing really good. And I've learned a lot from other people, and I do believe a lot of people have learned from me as well. So all we can do is continue to grow from here on out.
Right. And I have to take a moment to clarify things. So you said this isn't just a UMES group, right?
Right? No,
This is open to everybody. Okay.
open to
All right.
everybody.
Make sure this on the UMES closed group or something.
Nope.
Okay. We love you, UMES. But also, if you follow, the Travel with Mish on Instagram, that's where there's a lot of great, pictures from, some of the travels and journeys. So you're not going to get like the articles, if you will, but you know what I'm saying, see all those beautiful
Yeah,
aesthetics, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
on the Instagram.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, all the eye candies over there, you know what I'm saying? So we'll give her a chance to shout out, all that at the end. But I did want to just throw that nugget out there for you as well. So, another thing that you talk about in the Facebook group, I was like, oh, what's going on here? What I'm saying? You went on a little bit of a rant the other day, you know what I'm saying? You were talking about an Airbnb experience that kind of turned you off, man. What happened?
Okay, so you know, we try to support. Airbnb is kind of like supporting small businesses, if you will, right? So we've given up the hotel, especially over the pandemic. People were leaving hotels and wanting to be in secluded areas and Airbnb. So me and my girls, we did a little girls trip, a little up north from where we are in Florida, in Sarasota, Florida, a month or two ago. We enjoyed the house. We didn't have many issues. The host, she was a little, you know how sometimes you feel like the Airbnb and hosts are like spying on you, or just watching you. Like, we kind of felt that was all going on, but it wasn't anything serious. We continued on with our day. We didn't spend that much time in the house anyway. It was really weird though. The lady had like all these Bible verses like all over her house. And I'm a Christian, and I believe, but it was just kind of weird that like in every corner she had like these weird Bible verses. So that kind of caught us a little off guard. But that's moving.
She trying to convict her guest or something,
Right.
man. They trying to have a good time, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was a little weird. But you would think, okay, well, I'm in a house of God, so I feel comfortable.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
we were cool with it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We serve the same.
Yeah, we serve the same.
Okay.
We got the same thought process here. So you would think. But, and this lady had, with Airbnb, sometimes these people have all these rules. They want you to take the trash out, do the laundry, set the AC, whatever. We followed all this lady's rules.
Yes.
We left her house clean, probably cleaner than how we found it. And
tell it.
I mean, because she had me hot. So, so when we left, if you're familiar with Airbnb, you have to rate each other or give a review on each other. So me as a consumer, or as the guest, I rate the host, and the host rates me.
Right.
And then you can do like a public post and all of that, whatever, to tell other people about your experience. So
right, because you all both have profiles, right?
Right.
Okay.
So we did everything that the lady asked us to do. Upon checkout, it asked me to do my review. In my review, I was like, oh, we enjoyed our time, whatever, nice house, whatever. The lady sent, she posted me a review, and she was like, oh, Almetia and her friends had such a good time. They followed all the rules. I would love to host her again, her and her friends again. So I was like, okay, bet. Like, close that up. Another one for the books. Keep it moving. It wasn't until I continued reading my email from her that I noticed that there was a separate review. So if you look on Airbnb, it gives you an area for a public review, which is the one that other people can see. And then there's a separate area for a private note or a private review. What I think it's used for is, like, maybe if you're the guest and something was wrong with the house, maybe you would say, hey, just a note, like the shower's leaking or something. Just like a private, something that everybody doesn't have to know. But this lady left us a review in the private area, and I don't know if she knew that it was coming to me or if she thought that it was going to be going to other Airbnb hosts. I'm not sure where she thought that it was going. But after she just left us that ravishing review.
Amen. God don't like ugly. God don't like ugly, right?
For her to be having all these Bible verses in her house, she had the nerve to say in her private review that Almetia and her friends are a group of black rowdy girls. And first, so if she wouldn't have said black, I would have been like, okay, maybe we were playing.
Right. I mean,
if maybe we played music a little.
What is that part?
Like,
that part.
So I'm like, how did you leave this whole nice review, and then now you have this insulting thing right under it? Probably thinking that it's not coming to me, because why would she talk to me in third person, right? Almetia and her friends. So
Right.
The reason that I have an issue with Airbnb is because I did bring this to their attention, and any good company, in my opinion, if you have a guest or a consumer who's spending their money on services through you, you want to make sure that they feel comfortable, they're happy with the services, and you take care of it, and we move on. But my issue with Airbnb is that I explained to them what was going on multiple times. They would ignore me. They would send me an email that just says, "Oh, we don't stand for discrimination. Please have a look at our discrimination policy," or whatever. I'm like, I don't care about your policy.
A canned response. I mean, obviously, both of us know customer service. It's a canned response. You know what I'm saying? Like, get out of my face. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much.
And they gave it to me multiple times. Every time I would reply to them,
right,
and I would say, "Could you please stop giving me a generic response, and can I get a real person to address this?" Nothing. So then I'm like, okay, I wasn't trying to air them out publicly, but now I feel like I have to go to social media. So Twitter is always my go-to. And that's, for those who don't use it, that's whenever you have trouble with these airlines or hotels, restaurants, any of these places that you feel like you're unable to get a satisfactory response from these places, man, go to Twitter, because obviously they all care about their image, and all it takes is for one person to share something, and then it gets shared and shared and shared. So I went to Twitter, I explained my situation. Then they said, "Oh, we're gonna have somebody on this immediately, whatever." And then they sent me another canned response again. The only thing that they said was, "Oh, we'll look into this," and this was it. They said, "We're gonna give the host like X amount of days to basically re-review the discrimination policy, and then once we feel that she has like recertified herself, then we will then she'll be fine." They were like, "We're gonna basically, you couldn't like book her page supposedly for a couple of days until she recertified herself." So I'm like, so you just want her to reread a thing? Yeah. And
yeah, just a slap on the wrist.
But ever since then, I'm like, and with Airbnb, to be honest, they've gotten so expensive. They have you paying all these extra fees, cleaning fees, even though they're having you clean and do the laundry, and they're charging you $150 for a cleaning fee. And it's like, and then they have so many rules. Don't park. Don't have gatherings, all these things. And it's like, oh my gosh, for all this, I could just stay at a hotel and know that I'm going to get typically good service, clean sheets, housekeeping service every day, and then just be done with it without paying all these extra fees, because what Airbnb is doing is nonsense. And there's so many other companies like Airbnb already out, and probably more coming, that they should really care about keeping their customer base. So
it sounds like they're more, catering to
the hosts.
The host.
Yeah, I think so. Because I haven't received anything as a guest that I feel like, they really care and they want to retain my business or whatever. So, but that's okay.
That is, you know what I'm saying? I look forward to many posts where you can let us know whatever alternatives are out there. So,
For sure.
That's what's up. Okay, so I want to know, how has COVID, really affected like travel, and where do we currently stand with like flights in light of COVID and cruises in light of COVID?
Yeah, so obviously when COVID first came around, like travel was just kind of like grounded.
It came over on a cruise. Nah, let me stop.
Well, you ain't lying there, and I live in like a cruise hub, so
right.
There was a lot of that going on. So travel kind of took a huge drop. So the hospitality, a lot of places they suffered, and some people were not able to come back. So that's unfortunate. But on the plus side, COVID is a lot of the rules and regulations that were put into place during the peaks of COVID have kind of dropped tremendously. Most recently, they just did away with the rule that as you return to the U.S., you have to take a COVID test. Because before, for the last year or so, it's been anytime you return to the U.S., you have to take a COVID test, whether you're vaccinated or not. And for those who don't know, when you're taking the COVID test in other countries, you have to pay for it. So not like here where we get tested for free, goes through your insurance and all of that. You got to pay for it over there. And so some places I think were as cheap as $40, but I think I paid like $90 in some places too. So that's definitely a cost that us frequent travelers are glad to have behind us. With the cruise industry, they are still taking vaccinated people only. Some of them are still requiring testing, some are not. But so you'll still find some kind of issues traveling through cruises. But with the airlines, you should be good. Of course, you want to check where you're going to see if they require a test coming to them. But more importantly, I think a lot of us are more worried about, are we going to be able to get back home safely? Because it's always that scary thing when you're in another country and you got a test to come back home, and then you come up testing positive, right? Now you're stuck quarantining in another country that you may or may not have prepared to cover costs of while you're over there. And it's not really like a vacation. You can't do anything when you're in, and the other countries take COVID very serious in comparison to us. Us over here, you have COVID, give me 2 days. Yeah.
They be mad, like, man, there go them dirty Americans again, man. They always bringing stuff over here.
So, yeah, it's definitely good that they've kind of gotten rid of that, at least as a barrier. Now, how is it going to affect us, our numbers in the future now? I don't know. I hope we don't see another surge in cases, because I'm about done with COVID life at this point. But for people that traveled a lot, I don't think that we really allow COVID to kind of hinder us from being able to still kind of get out there. It may have just made you change your plans a little bit or change your destination, but somebody that wanted to get out there, whether they're vaccinated or not, they found where they could go, and they went.
Okay. I actually saw a post in your stories today talking about this Africa trip that you've been coordinating. Can you just share with our viewers a little bit about what you're coordinating, because you're doing this primarily through the page, right?
Yes, it's primarily through the page, but I have kind of opened it up to others, because I know there's a lot of people that are in the group who have like other friends that they want to, that are interested. So I was like, okay, this is kind of like a big deal. So basically, for those who don't know what it is, I am coordinating a trip to Tanzania, which is in East Africa, next year. The reason this came about was because the momentum in my travel group kind of got really good at one point, and everybody kind of was just excited about the group, excited about all the new things that they were learning, all the new people that they were meeting virtually, of course. And a few people were just like, oh my gosh, can you plan a group trip? And group trips are, to be honest, not really my thing. When I travel, I really prefer to travel with, 2-3 people max. Especially as a woman, girls, we always got different things going on and different personalities. And when I travel, I'm very, I'm kind of like very anal
trying to be
about what I like. I have a plan, and I'm like, this is what we doing. And then people come in with their other opinions and stuff, and it's like, oh, child. But basically, with this trip, we're gonna do a week out in Africa, and I'm really excited about it because I know there's so many people that want to travel. Like I said earlier, people want to travel, but some people are just scared. They don't know how to. They don't have anybody to go with. They just don't know where to go from here. So I chose Tanzania as my destination because I think we can kind of hit a lot of things at once. People who have never been to Africa, that only know the things that they see on TV, right? The villages and the huts and all that. Oh, you have elephants in your backyard or whatever.
Crazy.
So
Crazy, yeah.
So we are going spend a couple of days in the safari, so people will get to actually go to a game reserve and see real wildlife in their own habitats, not in a zoo where they're caged up and fed. You get to see how God intended these animals to live on this earth, right? So we'll get to see a
Right.
safari. Also, the Tanzania, they have a very high Muslim, Arab influence. So you'll kind of get a taste of that. And we'll actually be going right after they celebrate Eid, which is a huge celebration for them. So I think that it'll be a great time because everybody will kind of be happy and celebrating in the country at that time. So we're going to go there. And then we're also going to go, what I'm really excited about is going to Zanzibar, which Zanzibar is kind of like their little beach island paradise side. And I think it'll be really good for people who are not really familiar with all the different aspects of the African continent. Like, they've got desert, they've got beach, they've got mountains, they've got everything.
Yeah, you giving a little bit of everything in this one trip, man. You that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
So what time of year are you talking about?
Say that again.
What time of year are you talking about?
So this is going to be the end of April. So it could be around some people's spring breaks or some people preparing for a summer break coming up. But I really wanted to give people a good amount of time to be able to save money and make payments so that money isn't the issue. Obviously, traveling, as good of a budget traveler as I am, there's but so much budgeting that I can do for a trip to Africa with a group of people. So I did my best to speak with some organizations that helped me put the trip together. And so people
talk about it.
People had time to put a payment plan together and just make payments so that by the time that the trip comes, everything is already paid for. Because within the price, it does include all of our accommodations, all of our transportation, except for the flight going, as well as all of our excursions and everything. So at least it's like once they know that they've paid everything off now, when we go there, it's just all about having a good time and experiencing some new stuff and not really having to worry about money when we get there.
Okay. All right. That's what's up, man. That seems like it's going to be a good look, man. Well, we're kind of, winding down the show, man. I thought it would be cool if we did a little bit of a rapid fire. So I'm going to give you two choices. You tell me which way you're leaning and why. If you want to take that moment to, kind of talk about the pros of going both routes, we can do that too. I'll let you decide how you want to do that. But I'm going to get this little rapid fire started. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Girls trip or vacation?
I would say vacation. Why? Because Bae's gonna take my pictures and not complain, and he's gonna foot most of the bills. So vacation. But I love.
I think that depends on the Bae. I think that depends.
Well, that's what we talk about. My Bae.
Okay.
But I take more girls trips than vacations though. So it really is just, to me, when I travel, it's whoever is ready to go, who got their time off, who got their money, and who's ready. It don't matter if it's Bae, if it's girls, whoever. All I need is one person.
Okay. So do you do any solo trips?
So as far as solo goes, I do them domestically. Like, I do have a trip that I actually just planned between yesterday and today, that I'm gonna go to Charleston in 2 weeks.
That's a cool town, man.
And I've never been, and I'm really excited about that. So.
They're downtown market by the water. They got a fresh seafood market out there. It's pretty cool. It's a nice, charming town too. I
come to you for
I actually have Geechee in my blood, so I know all about Charleston and South Carolina and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to finish answering your question, I don't really do international trips solo. Typically what I do is I have a lot of friends who kind of live abroad and overseas. I normally will take a trip solo and fly to them and meet up with them in their country and let them take me around and all of that. But as far as like enjoying a trip internationally solo, I personally don't, even though I have plenty of friends who do, but for two reasons. One,
Okay.
I really like the idea of being to experience, to someone to have to share the memories with. And, you know, I can
Right.
at least have one person that I can be like, hey, man, you remember when we
Yeah.
went to whatever? You
Absolutely.
know, I
Yeah.
like that because
Mm-hmm.
I just like that. I like building memories with people. But then also it's a safety thing for me, even though a lot of the places are way safer than the US. But just the idea of me like, what if I lose my phone and I don't have anybody else that I can call and I'm all the way in
Yep.
this country by myself? That makes me feel a little bit uneasy.
No doubt.
But
I definitely get that, especially as a young lady and whatnot. Okay. All right. Let's get this rapid fire back on track. I had to ask that question. All right. So all inclusive or live in the city?
it goes to what you said earlier. Just depends on what you want to get out of the trip. If you're just looking to like lounge around and enjoy the scenery, definitely all inclusive because everything is there. But if you really want to enjoy the rich culture in wherever you are, the city is definitely the way to go. Probably the cheaper way too. Well, not Airbnb, but I'm open to Airbnb style.
Okay.
Like I said, there are other companies that you can use.
Okay.
But I like resort better though.
Okay. And why?
Because everything is there. You can meet so many people right in your little area.
Mm-hmm.
They usually have like a little lounge, tons of bars,
Yep.
good food. You don't have to go anywhere. So.
Okay. That's what's up, man. Well, Almetia, I've really enjoyed, our talk this evening. I hope that everyone has got some good information, some good pointers, some things that maybe they haven't considered. Are you being too travel bougie? Are you missing out on some opportunities? Are you doing your due diligence? Are you being more adventurous? Are you being more immersive in, taking advantage of, some of the different things that are out there? Are you even taking trips? Hopefully you will. Let's start there. Let's make sure that we all put on, our short-term goals to get some trips under our belt so that we can treat ourselves, so we can show that self-love. Do me a favor, and if you could just shout out your social medias, let people know how they can keep up with you and what you have going on.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at travel_with_Mish_. You can also follow me on TikTok at Travel with Mish, or you can also come on and join our travel page on Facebook for the Budget Traveler.
That's what's up. Well, it's truly been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today, Almetia. For everyone out there, make sure you check out this young lady, some of the things you got going on. Hey, if you think Africa's for you, that invitation's out there for a limited time because I know those seats are filling up.
Yes, definitely.
But with that said, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Till we meet again, love you, peace, we're out.
Thank you.